warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. On this edition of the program, our interest once more tilts to the new national carrier Nigeria Air, which is expected to commence operations in December 2022 if government keeps to its promise. Two prominent aviation stakeholders, one, the first indigenous Nigerian pilot, Captain Bob Hayes, and another, a former managing director of the defunct Nigeria Airways, retired Air Vice Marshal Anthony Okpere, share their views about these projects. Now to the issue of the new carrier shareholding, with Ethiopian Airlines taking 49% as the airline operators of Nigeria head to court over the issue. Nigeria's defunct national carrier, Nigeria Airways, was founded in 1958 after the dissolution of West African Airways Corporation. At that time, the government of Nigeria owned a majority of the airline, 51%, until 1961, when it boosted its shareholding in the company to 100%. The carrier held the name Nigeria Airways until it ceased operations in 2003.
Nigeria Airways, if you guys can remember it, wasn't anything like the airline it turned out to be towards the end of its lifespan. Nigeria Airways was actually a fantastic airline. I don't know whether some of you know that it was a fantastic airline with a reputation as solid as any airline right now, like the Ethiopians of this world. It was a solid super airline. It was the first to land an aircraft, a Boeing 707 in JFK, as far back as the early 70s, with a completely black cockpit crew.
A former managing director of the airline and also former Minister of Aviation, retired Air Vice Marshal Anthony Okpere, says the airline should never have been liquidated.
Nigeria Airways shouldn't have died. As far as I'm concerned, and I still stand by my word, Nigeria Airways shouldn't have died. Good enough, they had a probe, and I'm sure you are aware of the probe, the white paper that was sent. They knew all the people that brought Nigeria Airways to its knees. And when Nigeria Airways was sold off, all the workers were left in the lurch. They were not paid their pension gratuity. A lot of them died even before the President Buhari came and decided to pay.
After 19 years, the nation is introducing a new national carrier, Nigerian Air. The carrier's first public announcement was at the 2018 Farnborough Air Show in the United Kingdom. Over the past 4 years, the airline has slowly gained traction and hopes to launch operations in December 2022. The new carrier has 46% belonging to Nigerian investors, 5% for the federal government, and 49% stake for Ethiopian Airlines. This take by Africa's biggest carrier is a cause of rumble in Nigeria's aviation sector. Domestic carriers are not on the same page with aviation ministry authorities.
Ethiopia met Airbus, took us to Addis Ababa, gave us red carpet reception, signed MOU with Airbus, a commercial agreement saying that they would like us to collaborate. We agreed, we signed. Then 3 weeks later, for us to come back to Nigeria with them and now go into technical details of what this will entail. And what they did is here, it's in writing. I'm not saying hearsay. I want any Nigerian to beat my patriotism. I asked the question, why do you want to use me to access the whole world and access Nigerian market?
The former managing director of Nigeria Airways is of the view that this new carrier is coming too late in this administration.
This administration winds up in March, or let me say March. The moment the election is over, it's over. What is the guarantee that the people coming in will continue? What briefing have they given to everybody in the country to know, even in the aviation industry? Has the country been carried along? This is what we want to do. Okay, Ethiopian Airlines. But what are the terms? Everybody needs to know what is going on so that when this administration winds up, people coming in should say, well, this was what we were told. Are we following?
For the federal government, this partnership with Ethiopian is essential to ensuring Nigerian air takes off promptly.
Having a very strong airline that is able to bring people from far and near into the country is extremely important in the scheme of things. And eventually now we have a bidder. Some say also there is a problem with the Ethiopian. There will have to be, in the structure of government, there will have to be a partnership with one strong airline or another. And I think I think Nigeria is even lucky that we are having Ethiopian to partner with us because they are African airline. And with it, yes, I am saying because this is within the spirit. I am saying it boldly. I am putting on record in this house, in this people's house, I am putting it on record that I'm bold to say, I'm proud to say that I'm partnering with an African.
For Nigeria's first indigenous pilot, Captain Bob Hayes, a new national carrier is most welcome.
I think it's commendable because we were very, very sad indeed when we lost Nigeria Airways. But now that it is being mooted or is being proposed to set up a new airline, I think this is one of the best things that will happen for the country. Most countries in Africa have national carriers, and I think it's about time. Nigeria, the big country in Black Africa, should of course take its lead.
Ethiopian Airlines remains an economic rival to Nigeria, so the idea that its flagship carrier would control 49% of Nigeria's national carrier is disturbing to many Nigerians. The share would increase Ethiopian Airlines' influence, allowing a rival nation, an airline, to significantly benefit from Nigeria Air's success. So unless the Nigerian government makes significant changes to its plan for the startup, Ethiopian may be in for a good ride in Nigeria. Ethiopian Airlines running the new airline is not a bad idea. But what does Nigeria's aviation sector stand to gain from this partnership? This is what the federal government should be explaining to all. That's the view of our guest on the program.
I think it's important that we have a national carrier. Why that is important is because of the balance of power, especially with the international foreign airlines that we have bilateral air services agreement with. For example, look at the UK route. There is no balance of power. Flying to UK, I was going through one of the carriers, direct flight. I flew on them for 1.9 million in April, and that same 1.9 million that I flew on upper class is what they are providing for me for economy as of today, and that doesn't make sense. So if we have a competing airline that is able to match them, because there is supposed to be an equity participation in terms of 50-50 percentage, even if it's 60-40, even 30-70 is still okay. But no Nigerian carrier is flying to the UK, for example. So if you have a carrier, there is a balance of power that will be there, because Nigerians will have the option to fly a carrier, our naira will be accepted, and so many other embedded benefits. Even if we are flying to Gatwick, we'll be happy with it. And then they will then also, because governments tacitly always support their own, in quote, national carrier, if I can put it in that particular way. Even Emirates, you discover that they had a problem with the US route one time, and the UAE were supporting Emirates. US government were saying that there is no equitable balance because they are flying as a commercial airline into UAE, for example, whereas they are subsidized. The UAE airlines are subsidized, so there is no fair competition. So now imagine when you don't even have a carrier flying into the UK. So technically, I believe we are being exploited, so which is unfair to us. But if we have a national carrier, there can be balance of power, and our government can put our weight behind the national carrier, and that is on one part. You can see the role we have with UAE also likewise in this Dubai, Lagos route. So it's also the same problem. Where I may tilt a bit to supporting those who critique us is that we're starting with the domestic route. That
appears not to be the main area we have issues with. The main area is the international route, whereby why won't we have Nigerian carrier or a flag carrying carrier competing on the lucrative routes that Nigerians need to go? This is what we need to checkmate. But if the national carrier that we're having now is able to develop, I mean, within the structure that they have, they are able to develop, because government has what we call FEC, that's Federal Executive Council, outline business case. I've not seen that business case, but we see the business case, and embedded in that business case is for example, Ethiopia Airlines to set up an MRO here and transfer the skill and knowledge that is robust and very strong in their side and develop our local content or capabilities here, then that will be excellent. It is left for us to allow them to exploit us. You know, it's supposed to be a win-win situation. So if we can create a win-win situation, it's okay. But if it's a win-lose situation, then it's of no advantage. So we need to go into the details of the agreement. If they can share and make that business case open to all, and then we can all critique it and see that, okay, this largely too is to our advantage. If you can transfer skills, because I must give it to Ethiopia Airlines. In Africa, to me, they're the best. In terms of skill acquisition, skill transfer, knowledge transfer, they have very, very young guys working, trained. Ethiopia has been trained in, fabrication of aircraft tools, parts, and that is remarkable. If they can transfer that here, that will be remarkable. If they can build the expertise they've been able to gather over the years and build an MRO here, and we have a very strong MRO facility with all the capabilities that they have in Ethiopia, with our own citizens working there and developing tools, doing maintenance and such like, then that will be a win-win situation for us.
The air side of the General Aviation Terminal in Lagos, flights landing and taking off. The newly refurbished domestic runway is in sight as fresh markings greet the surface. The runway has also been fitted with the Cat 3 airfield ground lighting system. This would hopefully bring to an end Airlines' inability to land on the runway after sunset. The repair project commenced on July the 8th, 2022 and lasted for 90 days. Aviation union members have been protesting a proposed demolition of all agency offices in Lagos. The aviation union members in their number put placards on display to show their distaste for this proposed exercise. Aviation Minister Senator Adi Sirika recently proposed the demolition of some agencies of the ministry. Buildings to be demolished are that of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the former headquarters of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, as well as the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. This at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport had been demolished earlier in the year. Authorities had said this would give room for the expansion of the fingers of the Terminal 2 of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. European aircraft maker Airbus SE, a global leader in aeronautics and related services, is banking on growing levels of digitalization in China's aviation sector to achieve sustained growth in what is its largest market. Airbus China unit has set up the Aircraft Lifecycle Services Center in Chengdu, covering a range of activities from aircraft parking and storage, maintenance, upgrade, conversions, dismantling and recycling services for various types of aircraft. The multinational company is betting big on innovation to unlock the next growth phase in the country.
We will benefit from the greatest strengths in this country, such as digitalization, connectivity, logistics, and sustainability to collaborate with our customers to innovate.
Since Airbus set up its first branch here in 1994, China has become Airbus's biggest single-country market. There are more than 2,100 Airbus aircraft in operation across China, accounting for 54% of the market share. For every 4 aircraft that Airbus produces globally, 1 comes from China.
As of today, Airbus has more than 2,000 staff in China. 300 people are the customer service team who supports 26 customers. And there are over 2,000 Airbus aircraft in the area of maintenance engineering, materials, training, flight operations.
Aviation was one of the industrial sectors most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but the industry is returning to pre-pandemic levels.
China's air cargo and mail traffic reached 7.318 million tons, or 97.2% of the level in 2019. The future development of air cargo will trend toward integration, logistics, digitalization, high-tech internet, and intelligent development.
The Civil Aviation Agency of China, in its 14th five-year plan period 2021 to 2025, has called for green and low-carbon development in the industry, with Airbus at the helm of developing sustainable fuels and construction materials for the future.
China has great potential for further development in the aviation manufacturing chain. The huge aviation market is a direct driver for the aviation service market, including maintenance, training, and information services.
Airbus's annual forecast shows air traffic will recover to pre-pandemic levels before 2025, and the company anticipates average annual growth of about 5% in air traffic in the next 20 years. China is also expected to surpass the US as the largest civil aviation market in the world.
It's been 9 long years since she waited for a chance to go into space, and now Nico Apunaman is set. And if all goes according to plan, that wait will end on October the 3rd, when the Native American astronaut will lead NASA's Crew 5 mission to the International Space Station. While John Harrington was the first Native American astronaut to make it to the space in 2002, Man will be the first woman to break that barrier.
To be honest, I think I feel very proud. It's important that we celebrate our diversity and really communicate that specifically to the younger generation. Because I know there's kids out there that live, perhaps in a community where there are barriers. And I want them to know that these barriers are being broken down or can be broken down. And so hopefully they feel inspired or empowered to pursue their dreams and work towards breaking down some of those barriers. In the same breath, operationally here at NASA, it's really great to be able to say it really doesn't matter, right? Our astronauts are trained across the board and qualified for missions. And so we're really getting to a point in our kind of evolution as a society that operationally we don't highlight or distinguish based on gender or race or religion. We distinguish based on your ability to execute the job. I think that's also great to highlight as part of how far we've come.
Man is a member of the Wilaki of the Round Valley Indian tribes in Northern California, says that our upcoming mission has sparked excitement in our community.
0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
I still live in Northern California area where the Round Valley tribes are located. And there's been, what's really neat is a lot of interest from these news outlets and from these sources from the Native American outlets. And that's really, I think, an audience that we don't get an opportunity to reach out to very often. And so I think this is just a good opportunity to highlight everything that we're doing in space and maybe, spread that word to a community that normally wouldn't be in the forefront of their minds.
With a journey into space just weeks away, Man, a Marine colonel with a master's in mechanical engineering, was recruited into NASA in 2013 and finished candidate training 2 years later. As a former fighter pilot who flew combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, she seems well suited to the stress and unpredictability of a manned space mission. Man, NASA astronaut Josh Kasada, Japan's Koichi Wakata, and Russian cosmonaut Anna Kikina are set to launch from Florida's Kennedy Space Center aboard the Dragon spacecraft and swap out Crew 4 from ISS. NASA's gigantic space launch system, atop which will be for now a manned Orion crew capsule, is poised to take a key step toward returning humans to the moon after a half-century hiatus.
Just make sure that you keep the track on your left side down.
While the world was locked indoors during the pandemic, UK-based Indian mechanical engineer Ashok Tamarakshan made the best use of his time and built an airplane. Tamarakshan, 38, who is also a private pilot, dreamt of engineering a personal aircraft to take his family on trips and feared flying rental planes, which he said are usually old and unsafe to fly. The mechanical engineer who works for Ford Motor Company in Essex said he had initially planned to order an aircraft kit and build it with his colleagues in his home, but the 2020 lockdown left him with no choice but to complete it on his own.
When I got back to the UK in the beginning of 2020, placed the order, and kind of the lockdown happened at the same time around April when I received the first kit. So there was a plan that some of my work colleagues will help out with the build, but in the end, because of lockdown, that couldn't happen. I ended up doing most of the work myself.
Named after his youngest daughter, Dia, the metallic red colored G Dia can carry up to 4 people, including the pilot, and reach about 250 kilometers in an hour. After getting clearance to fly, Tamarakshan flew across 4 European countries with his friends and has also gone on a trip with his family of 4.
And by February, we did the first flight. It was just a short 20-minute flight. And then following the test flying program, we completed that and got the final permit issued by the Civil Aviation Authority in May of this year. And since then, we've had a few trips. We've been to the, all 4 of us, my family, we've been on a short trip. And I've flown with my friends on a European holiday, flying across 4 countries. You know, as I said, I didn't want to put my family in a really old aircraft, which was still running on technologies that were invented during the World War. I mean, still an air-cooled engine and carburetors and things like that is what you find in an aircraft nowadays. So this one is quite modern. It's got fuel injection. It's got electronic ignition, and so it's quite advanced in more like a modern car engine compared to general aviation aircrafts.
Tamarakshan built his aircraft at a cost of over $200,000. That's all on the show today. Join us next week for another fresh edition of the program. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.